Let's just get right to the point. This was an apocalyptic security failure. A man was murdered in front of his family. 3 people were shot on live television, including President Trump in the head, who came within 2 millimeters of having his head explode on national television in front of millions of people.
The news cycle moves so fast these days, it seems like millennia ago that we heard the crack of a gunshot, the turn of a head. A blood-soaked man arises from behind a pulpit to clench his fist and say, "Fight, fight, fight," moments before appearing in a photograph that in different times would have defined the rest of the election cycle. But this is 2024, and time ain't like that anymore. Time passes fast. Well, Dan Bongino, fellow Rumble creator and former Secret Service member, has appeared at a hearing to unpack and understand those events of J13, and he believes it could happen again. There could be another assassination attempt before the election. Now, let me know in the comments in the chat, while you give me a like and subscribe, if you'll be so kind, if you believe that's possible or plausible. And let's have a look at a compilation of Dan Bongino's moments, as we promised you in the title of this live show. Let me know what you think about this, and let me know, do you believe that the Secret Service, like the CIA, like all government institutions, requires a reckoning and a deeper understanding? And let me know, do you think it's possible that this could happen again?
With that, I'll turn it over to our subject matter experts, beginning with Mr. Bongino for opening remarks.
Listen, let's just get right to the point. This was an apocalyptic security failure. A man was murdered in front of his family. 3 people were shot on live television, including President Trump in the head, who came within 2 millimeters of having his head explode on national television in front of millions of people. There's no sugarcoating it. It's no time for BS. Unfortunately, as Congressman Crane and Mills both indicated, the story seems to have been vanquished to the phantom zone of media coverage. It's amazing how we're still talking about JFK's assassination, but nobody seems to want to talk about President Trump being shot in the head on national television, despite the fact that we have no answers. So I have 5 minutes, so I want to keep it quick, and I want to make 3 points. I worked in the Secret Service for 12 years. I loved it. I worked with some really amazing men and women. But they have 3 institutional problems, I believe, in the macro will help us get to the bottom of how this Secret Service apocalyptic failure won't happen again. First, they have a technology problem. The joke in the Secret Service, which is just sadly no longer funny when I was there, and it wasn't funny then either, is they rely on yesterday's technology tomorrow. Think about that. Yesterday's technology tomorrow. Everything from computer systems at waste agents' times, filling out time and attendance records they were doing, to Congressman Crane and I discussing the fact that they only implemented slings, a technology as old as the wheel, about, 5 or 6 years into my time in the Secret Service, which is embarrassing. The weaponry was old. Everything was old. These are things I would have talked about sooner if they didn't create a security crisis, and I obviously didn't want to air them publicly. Now you're seeing what happens when you don't have a drone up at a site you could have bought for $39.99 on Amazon. Second, another adage in the Secret Service, you've heard even the new acting director discuss, is the more with less approach. There is no more with less. There's less with less, okay? The Secret Service more with less approach only works if you produce more. That's how capitalism works. You produce a flat screen TV that was probably 20 years ago, $10,000. It's $200 at Walmart now. They produce a better TV with less. That's not what the Secret Service did. They produced less with more. They were given more money and produced less.
Mr. Bongino, in your opinion, is the Secret Service in a better spot today with Director Rowe in charge?
No, it's worse. And sadly, I'm glad this is all being recorded, because when something else happens, and I hope it doesn't, I pray to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that I'm wrong, that you play this and go, look, that guy was crazy. You think this is the last incident, you're out of your mind. We have seen these incidents over and over. We saw the Georgia grenade incident with President Bush. They overtook the magnetometers. The Secret Service leadership in charge now with the exact same people. Exact same. Can you imagine a C-suite at a company that makes widgets? We find out that there's a design defect. The widget explodes and kills 10 people. And the CTO gets a promotion to CEO. You understand that's what happened here, correct? These are the same people. Kim Cheadle, the director, wasn't even fired. She was allowed to resign. She'll go get some cushy job somewhere. And her deputy, who is one of the guys behind these stupid waste of time things like agents wearing red ties on the detail. Because this actually happened, by the way. These people will tell you this under oath if you get the right people. He was concerned about the tie color of the agents on the detail because it seemed to imply he supported President Trump. Congressman Biggs wearing a red tie. You're wearing a semi-red tie. It has nothing to do with anything. This is the kind of stuff the Secret Service was actually wasting their time with while withholding CSU counter surveillance assets and counter sniper assets from probably the most threatened man on earth. If you can explain it, good luck, because that's not the agency I worked for.
Whether it's ineptitude or something more insidious that led to that assassination attempt is something for us, I suppose, to all consider. I found it fascinating that Trump himself recently said, well, they don't seem to like me very much, the Kamala Harris-Biden campaign. You know, they don't seem to have a lot of time for me. They don't seem to wish me well. And even that was reported by legacy media as Trump supporting conspiracy theories that the deep state tried to have him killed. The fact is, we now know, in part because of stories we've already looked at today, that deep state agencies do indeed, it appears, although it is difficult to corroborate for reasons that are obvious, i.e. they control information, they control media, they control the judiciary, they have incredible control, participate in the assassination of their enemies. In fact, part of Trump's ascent was fueled by his ability to call out and say in public things that many of us have long suspected, but you just don't see politicians say publicly. I was struck, of course, as I've said before, by Chappelle's SNL monologue, where he said the reason that Trump has such popular appeal is because he's like someone who's showing you inside these institutions.
He said, I know the system is rigged because I use it. I said, God damn.
The legacy media are obsessed with the failings and shortcomings of Donald Trump. They're obsessed, in fact, with the maintenance of the kind of power upon which their model is built. A model that cannot withstand challenges from independent media, that cannot withstand the challenges of new alliances that come out of independent political space. I know a lot of you watching this will say, it's not independent enough. Tulsi Gabbard, she's an institutional figure. Bobby Kennedy's an institutional figure. But man, if you read The Real Anthony Fauci by Bobby Kennedy, you will have to recognize this is a man who's not only vigorous when it comes to research, but pretty outspoken on some complex issues. And even though you might perhaps not agree with him on everything, maybe there are military and geopolitical issues about which you have doubts. If what you're interested in is progress, you would have to consider that perspective. Let me know whether or not you have a strong counter argument to that. And particularly if you're someone who supports the Kamala Harris campaign, what the point of difference and distinction is now that we've all learned as much as we have. So whilst this is a fascinating hearing, it looks like undertaken in some part by the Heritage Foundation. Many will point out the connections between the Heritage Foundation and that great bugbear of the Democratic Party, Project 2025, which appears to be radioactive to their way of life. I'm pretty grateful to see Dan Bongino assessing a subject about which he knows a great deal, and a subject about which he's proselytized with great... He's been very articulate on this subject. He's helped me to understand that something unusual happened, and he's really understood, I think, the necessary nuance when it comes to criticising members of the Secret Service. Some of you may have seen he's reporting at the RNC where he said, hey, listen, I don't want to condemn the individuals because those are men and women that are willing to give their lives and that are dedicated professionals and devoted. And I thought that was pretty admirable that he took that position. But to hear him say that Trump's life may yet be threatened again prior to November the 5th, well, could it happen? In this insane world, driven by insane people with insane motives, you'd have to say it is a possibility. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? Listen, you know that we are partners with Rumble, and Rumble have gotten into the coffee game. Now, if you knew that your coffee had been tainted with pesticides and chemicals, sitting in bags for months, sitting in an old ball bag for months, probably with traces of mold, would you drink it? The answer is, of course you wouldn't. Even Jill Biden wouldn't drink a bag so contaminated. Most of the coffee we consume is stale, flavorless, and full of harmful substances that have a negative effect on our health. Rumble's 1775 coffee, on the other hand, is free from harmful substances and chemicals, whilst it's also rich in flavor. The beans are sourced from high-altitude farms in Bolivia, roasted weekly in Miami, and delivered fresh to your doorstep. As believers in freedom, buying 1775 coffee helps fight back against other coffee makers that don't even care about you none. Join the coffee revolution and brew rebellion with Rumble's 1775 coffee. It's dark, it's delicious, but there are a variety of blends available. All you got to do is go to 1775coffee.com/brand. Use the code BRAND right now to get your 15% off. You can click that. There's stuff available whether you're in the Wake and Wonder chat or in the Rumble chat. It's pretty bloody good coffee. I'll tell you that right now. And I say that as an Englishman for whom the date 1775 is a very painful thing to reflect on. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.